Dr. Birgitta Ringbeck is a well-established professional with many publications on World Heritage, architecture history, and monument conservation. He was the head of the World Heritage Coordinating Body at the Federal Foreign Office of Germany until last month. He was a member of World Heritage Committee, the Council of ICORUM, German Commission for UNESCO, German World Heritage Foundation, ICOMOS, and ICORUM. Professor Albert, in her welcome speech, has acknowledged the accomplishment and contributions of Dr. Ringbeck in the areas of World Heritage. So I will not reiterate it. I will welcome you to the stage and to share with us your topic today, World Heritage Convention and its Peace Mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bester. Thank you very much, Lazar. Thank you very much, Marie-Therese Alberts. I'd like to underline it is not my 50th anniversary. It is the 50th anniversary of the World Heritage Convention, which we are going to celebrate today. I would like to welcome you all, and I have not the time to welcome everyone in person, but anyway, thank you very much for coming, and it is really a special event according to for the 50th anniversary. We just heard it, the World Heritage Program contributes to the constitutional mandate of UNESCO and its central mission, which is up to date like never before, stating that a peace based exclusively upon the political and economic arrangements of governments would not be a peace which could secure the lasting and sincere support of the peoples of the world, and that the peace must be therefore be founded, if it is not to fail, upon the intellectual and moral solidarity of mankind. This peace mandate of the World Heritage Convention is exemplified by a series of World Heritage sites that have been attacked before or after the inscription of the World Heritage List. Lazar just pointed out what happened with the mausoleums in Timbuktu in 2012. They demonstrate, these series and these sites, they demonstrate that the conservation and reconstruction of cultural properties after conflicts and crises is more than the rebuilding and restoration of material and substance. The Historic Center of Warsaw, recognized in 1980, is one of the earliest examples. With its decision, the World Heritage Committee acknowledged that reconstruction is not only a question of the verification of conservation doctrines and practices, but also about the inner strength and determination of a nation overcoming the horrors of World War II. The evaluation report of ICOMOS, normally very keen to keep the criteria for authenticity, points out that the criterion of authenticity may not be applied in its strict sense. However, the conditions are met because the Historic Center of Warsaw represents a finished concept of post-war reconstructions realized from 1942 to 1964. Thus, already in the first phase of the implementation of the World Heritage Convention, post-war and post-trauma recovery was recognized as a value conveying the outstanding universal value of a site. This early recognition of reconstruction and recovery as a distinct layer of heritage remained an exception for decades. Also, many inscribed sites have been reconstructed due to war damages, such, for instance, the Museum Island here in Berlin, which you are going to see tonight. The Museum's Island was severely damaged, and on your tour tonight, you can still comprehend the damage, documented one of the darkest layer of in German history. Beginning with the last decade of the 20th century, wars, armed conflicts, and targeted acts of terrorism led to a renewed engagement with the issue of the reconstruction, recovery, and reconciliation in the World Heritage Committee and in the advisory bodies ICOMOS and ICROM. The bridge of Mostar in Bosnia-Herzegovina, which was devastated in the 1993 Bosnian War, and the once largest standing Buddha statues in the valley of Bamiyan in Afghanistan, of whose monumentally only the empty niches remain after they were blown up by the Taliban in March 2021, are examples of sites from this period that were inscribed on the World Heritage List after their destruction and or reconstruction. In their statements of outstanding universal value, the unlimited efforts of human solidarity for peace and powerful cooperation in the face of overwhelming catastrophes and tragic destructions are explicitly mentioned. The Schum sites of Speyer, Worms and Mainz are the most recent examples in this series. In 2021, the property was listed as a pioneering ensemble of Jewish diasporic community centers, bearing witness to profound developments in the formation phase of the continuing cultural tradition of Ashkenaz Jews in Central Europe, north of the Alps. The histories of the community also includes that they have been rapidly jeopardized by pogroms over the centuries. During the period of National Socialism between 1933 and 1945, Jewish life was almost exterminated in Germany. In November 1938, when nearly all synagogues in Germany went up in flames, the one in Worms was also destroyed. The post-trauma reconstruction, as noted with regard to authenticity in the side statements of outstanding universal value, have not just been carried out respectfully and retain the heritage significance of the monuments. They mark the beginning of the long journey of peace and reconciliation after the Shoah. For me, this recognition was the most valuable that Germany has received from the World Heritage Committee. The World Heritage Committee took all these decisions with sometimes a large time gap of the events which they testify. It was never directly involved itself. This changed abruptly in 2012. The 40th anniversary of the World Heritage Convention was celebrated on the occasion of the 36th session of the committee held in St. Petersburg, Russian Federation, in June-July of that year. The meeting was overshadowed by shocking news, and Lazar just mentioned it, from Mali. In May and June, just before the conference, members of the Islamic militant organization Anjadin had destroyed the Sidi Mahmoud Ben Ammar mausoleum in Timbuktu and announced further attacks on other mausoleums. They used the meeting of the World Heritage Committee as a forum. Therefore, the committee included the site in the list of World Heritage in Danger on the 28th of June 2012. Ansardina reacted immediately by destroying the mausoleums of mausoleums of Sidi Mahmoud, Sidi Mokhtar, and Alpha Moria in the days that followed. The World Heritage Committee strongly condemned the destruction of the mausoleums in the World Heritage property of Timbuktu and called, under the Russian chairmanship, for an end of these repugnant acts. Furthermore, it decided on measures to help the country protect its heritage. With this decision, the political dimension of reconstruction, recovery, and reconciliation was acknowledged. This time, it was not just a steering appeal. The international community as a whole reacted. Heritage protection became an integrated part of the peacekeeping mandate of United Nations multidimensional integrated stabilization mission in Mali. MINUSMA is the acronym for this project. 3 years after the destruction by the extremists, the Timbuktu mausoleums were nearly restored through the extraordinary work carried out by local craftsmen and with international support. On the sidelines of the 39th session of the World Heritage Committee meeting in Bonn in 2015, on behalf of UNESCO Director General of UNESCO, a medal was presented to Alassane Hassaye, head of the Timbuktu Mansions, in recognition of work carried out by his guild. 1 year later, the International Criminal Court, ICC, recognized the destruction in Timbuktu as a war crime and sentenced the rebel leader Ahmad al-Faqi al-Mahdi to 9 years in prison. He himself pleaded guilty. Other World Heritage sites have not been able to recover as fast from destruction resulting from armed conflicts in the last decade. Due to political reasons and the security situation, international assistance on sites under the UNESCO umbrella could not be organized so far for the 6 Syrian World Heritage sites, or the old city of Sana'a and the old city of Shibam in Yemen, which were inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger in 2013 and 2015. Moreover, the Islamic State Iraq and the Levant ISIL extremists who publicly beheaded the Syrian archaeologist and guardian of Palmyra, Dr. Khaled al-Assad, have not yet been brought to justice. In the face of all this deliberate damage to cultural heritage, particularly in the Middle East, the Director General of UNESCO, Irina Bokova, launched the global coalition Unite for Heritage during the 39th World Heritage Convention. Well received by the international community, the Unite for Heritage campaign has since become a widely expanding global movement devoted to culture's unifying force and the mobilization of the global audience, with young people as its core. At its core. It depends on UNESCO's efforts to coordinate technical work among the different specialized agencies and institutions by facilitating experts meetings, for example, on the safeguarding of Syria's heritage in Berlin in 2016, and flagship initiatives like the Revive the Spirit of Mosul for the recovery of one of Iraq's iconic sites. In addition, the campaign is designed to support endeavors of member states. In examples, the resolution 69281 of May 2015, Saving the Cultural Heritage of Iraq, jointly presented by Germany and Iraq to the plenary meeting of the UN General Assembly. The unanimously adopted resolution condemns the barbaric acts of destruction and looting of the cultural heritage of Iraq carried out by IS, deplores the rising incidence of intentional attacks against the cultural heritage of countries affected by armed conflicts, and emphasizes that heritage has an important role to play in the efforts of national reconciliation and reconstruction. The United Nations Security Council Resolution 2199 from 2050 and 2347 from 2070, condemning the destruction of cultural heritage, and the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 281 on saving the cultural heritage of Iraq, mark the mobilization of the international community. The protection of cultural heritage has become one of the priorities of the highest political level, confirmed again by the first meeting devoted to culture in the history of the G20 on July 29 and 2021. In their Rome Declaration, the G20 ministers of culture state the following: Convinced that cooperation and dialogue are vital in the fight against violent extremism, we express our strongest condemnation of the deliberate destruction of tangible and intangible cultural heritage wherever it takes place, as it affects the identities of communities, damages human rights and human community identity, erasing legacies of the past and damaging social cohesion. We support initiatives taken to protect endangered cultural heritage and restore destroyed or damaged cultural heritage. Moreover, they express their conviction that multilateral efforts with UNESCO at the core are crucial. Without the World Heritage Convention, the protection and preservation of cultural world heritage would not have achieved such international political recognition. In the last 50 years, standards have been developed and set the course of the implementation of the Convention, which have shaped the doctrines and practice of monument preservation, far beyond the preservation of World Heritage sites. The initially very Western approaches and concepts for the preservation of cultural properties have been revised. One reason for this is certainly that the interdisciplinary discourses in the World Heritage community are never purely technical, but always also political. In an exemplary way, the attitude to the evaluation of reconstruction demonstrates a shift from the Charter of Venice from 1964, which actually only allows reconstruction if there are enough parts that can be reassembled, over the narrow document on authenticity from 1994 and underlying the significance of intangible values, to the Warsaw Recommendation of Recovery and Reconstruction Cultural Heritage from 2018, addressing the post-trauma challenges. And I remember Mechtel, that was a really very important meeting in Warsaw. So we would, and I underline that as a conservator, I feel still to be a conservator and not a diplomat, so I always say I'm an alien in the Federal Foreign Office. So we have every reason to be proud and celebrate. But in the anniversary year of the World Heritage Convention, one of the 194 state parties is trembling down their values and UNESCO's idea of the intellectual and moral solidarity of mankind. Like the 40th anniversary celebration, the 50th anniversary of the World Heritage Convention was originally to be celebrated in the Russian Federation, namely on the sidelines of the 54th session of the World Heritage Committee, scheduled for the second half of June in Kazan, Tatarstan this year. Many who attended the extraordinary 15th session of the World Heritage Committee in March 2021 wondered why Russia insisted on an election at this session, and why won't not wait for the regular committee session a few months later. The rules of procedure had to be changed especially for this. Less than a year later, Russia launched a war of aggression on Ukraine. Since February of 24, we just heard that civilians are deliberately killed every day. More than 50 million people are fleeing to save their lives. Moreover, more than 500 cultural sites have been destroyed by the army of the country, which currently chairs the World Heritage Committee. And we hold our breath every morning when we hear in the news that Lviv, which historic center belongs to the World Heritage sites of UNESCO, is also bombing again. And the Wagner Group, a Russian paramilitary organization, is not only undermining the United MINUSMA mission in Mali, but is also active in Ukraine. The attacks of both are a severe breach of international law and civilization. Destruction of cultural property is also a war crime, and we witnesses in 2016 when the man who destroyed the mausoleums in Mali were was threatened. So a World Heritage Committee meeting chaired by Russia is not acceptable, neither in Kazan nor in Paris or anywhere else. I do hope that the Bureau or nearly all the committee members in an extraordinary session will find an acceptable solution for this challenge. However, we must rely on the power that lies in the shared responsibility for the world's cultural and natural heritage and in the multilateral cooperation. Many crises will thus be overcome. The day will come when we again take care of our legacy together with our colleagues in Russia. Heritage professionals have staying power and think across generations. That is why being a member of UNESCO's World Heritage Community is the honor of my life. I thank all who are participating in this conference in person or on the screens around the world. Dear Marie-Therese, many thanks for you and your team. You did a great job. I'm finishing. We faced many challenges in preparing this conference and the book. It took a lot of strength, but the result is okay. We did it. According of the title or subtitle of the second panel in the afternoon today, we are now members of the circle of former experts, whatever that means. For me, it means freedom, and I hope for you as well. So thank you very much for your audience, and I hope I'm just in time.